Okay, guys, we're back on Yogis on the Road, and well, we have Alexis today and Guy Donahaye
Hello.
again.
Hello
Hey
again.
guys, how you doing?
Good.
I'm good.
Awesome.
How are you?
Well, that's the thing. Well, we wanted. So yesterday, during practice, I got up because I was very frustrated because yeah, my knee's been hurting and been trying to go around it, or I thought it was fixed and I wanted to do more and go harder in my practice. But yesterday I was really frustrated, so I got up. I went to Guy. I said, Guy, I am really frustrated. But because I was so tense because I wanted my knee to just work and I wanted to just do everything. And yeah, and what followed was the beginning of a pretty big lesson that I think I got to learn. And yeah, Guy, take the ball.
Well, I think the question was, how's life otherwise?
Yeah, that's what you asked me. Yeah,
what's
exactly.
going on with you outside of yoga practice?
Yeah, and yeah, it's been kind of a crazy period because I have a lot of stuff going on. And then you said, that's kind of reflects on your practice.
Right. Well, a lot of times we find that if you have pain in practice, it's usually caused by something's happening outside, or if you have tension in your body, it shows up in the asana practice in the room. And people tend to think of, yoga as a kind of performance, as a kind of, that's something that has to be perfect. And really and truly, I see yoga as a kind of therapy. Yoga is, or rather, real life is what we're trying to deal with. And yoga is a way to help ourselves feel better. But it's only when things start going wrong in the asana practice that suddenly you wake up and realize, wait a minute, my yoga practice is imperfect. My life is perfect, my yoga practice is imperfect.
Yeah.
And then maybe you start looking at it slightly differently.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that resonated with me yesterday. At one point you told me your performance is not the asana practice. Your performance is life. I thought, wow, that's true. This is supposed to make me feel better, not make me feel frustrated because I cannot close half lotus, or I cannot close Marichasana B.
Yeah, if you have pain or frustration, then you can use your yoga practice to feel better. That would be the goal. You always want to try and feel better when you leave the practice than when you walk in the first place. That should be always our goal. And sometimes you're not feeling that great when you come in, and then it's very easy to blame your practice as the problem.
True. And also I feel like we were saying, attachment, you get so attached to, oh, yesterday I was able to do this, and, why can I not do it today, And I feel it's true, at one point, yeah, I mean, it's a lesson that I'm still learning, non-attachment to, your practice, your body, or whatever you think you are able to do. But it's hard. It's not easy to just say, okay, no attachment.
Well, I think, these difficult situations are exactly the learning moment. It's exactly when you learn how to become not attached. You did that posture beautifully the day before and for the month before, and then suddenly you can't do it anymore.
And it's
it's a disaster.
Why? But then the more you go like that, the more you get tense, and it's counterproductive. So the only way is okay, I can't today for whatever reason.
Yeah, we find ways to use those poses to help you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got a text message here in the studio.
I know, interrupting the yoga practice.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm still trying to work on that lesson.
Well, I see the yoga practice as a kind of microcosm of your life and your attitudes and the way you behave in general. And like I said, usually it's only when things go wrong in your practice that you become a little bit more aware of it. Or if you're struggling, if everything's going beautifully, then you don't really notice. But I often find that my teaching starts when students struggle and when there's some issues going on. For some people, that's right from day one, can't bend forward, touch their toes,
Yeah.
and immediately feel frustrated. But the way you're working with your body in this very controlled environment is exactly the way you're working with your body, with your work, with your relationships, etc., outside of yoga. So it's a wonderful opportunity to become more aware in this very controlled, safe environment, how you are operating in general. Are you ambitious? Are you frustrated? Are you, what happens when you experience an obstacle, or when you experience something emotional, something opens, all these opportunities to safely explore in a kind of laboratory.
Are you saying that when somebody has an emotional experience that their bodies will open?
No, I think sort of the other way around sometimes.
Yeah.
When the body opens, there's an emotional experience.
Okay.
And how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that in the yoga practice, which is quite a safe, should be a really safe.
Where have you witnessed
simple.
that, like in your students as a teacher? Like what kind of openings?
Well, it's not necessarily like a dramatic new posture or something like that.
Yeah.
It just may be, you breathe into the chest, which is constricted, and there's, closed down emotions, and suddenly there's either anxiety or sadness.
Yeah.
We get tears.
It's stored.
Coming. I see the body as a kind of, it's like a canvas, and your emotions are kind of painted on your body.
Yeah.
Going back throughout your life. Anytime you had a bad experience and you didn't resolve it, your body is keeping
the samskara.
Yeah, it stores a memory, and cumulatively we have all these tensions in our body through the fascia. And now yoga practice is an opportunity to release some of that.
Right.
In general, I think the day-to-day practice is just dealing with our day-to-day stresses. And to go deeper, I think we talked about this before, to really go deeper into those darker, more unconscious areas, then you really have to sit with it, and you have to think about, you have to reflect on what those emotions are evoking, what are they related to, and we had this fantastic tool, which is the breathing, which is the link between the mind and body. So what happens when you feel frustrated, or when you get anxious, or experience pain, that your breathing becomes completely spastic, completely blocked.
It's short.
People have different types of personalities, and the breathing kind of reflects to a certain extent people's personalities as well. So when you experience trouble, just remembering to breathe in a relaxed way helps the mind to kind of unlock, and helps you to feel relaxed, or to feel confident, or to feel balance, or whatever it is that you're struggling with at that moment, and not say, I can't do it, I want to leave.
And that's the thing I wanted to ask you. I'm sure you guys have felt it. Is there that moment where you are in pain, and you're all contracted, and then you can choose to say, okay, let go. I found myself, for example, yesterday, I was trying the exercise you gave me to release my knee. But at the beginning it was super tight. And I went there with my mind, consciously looked, felt it. I was like, oh my God, it's so tight. I have to let go. But it's so hard at the beginning, because you have to make that mental step to let go, because you think it's going to be so painful. You know what I'm saying? The moment right before you let go and start easing into it, you think it's going to be so painful, and then you just have to realize that you just have to go through it in a way. I don't know how to explain it properly.
So existential.
There are probably different types of pain related to different types of injuries or tensions in your body. In this particular case, I think often when you feel pain, all your attention is there, and you forget to think about what else is going on around it. So, for instance, with the knee, if you think about the knee is 4 bones kind of suspended by these muscles and fascia and all these fleshy parts of your body. So you feel like you have a knee injury or a knee pain. But this is simply usually caused by tension in one or other muscle or several muscles together, which cause a kind of asymmetrical stress on the knee. And so you'll feel the pain in the knee itself, but the tension, as we discovered in your case, went all the way down your calf muscle towards your foot, all the way up towards your thigh, and your hamstring, your quadricep. A number of different muscles were involved in this particular pain that you were experiencing. And so, part of it is just kind of stepping back a little bit from the acute point where you're experiencing the sensation and understanding what is connected and where else you can release to allow it to feel better.
Yeah. Just like, in life.
And those things that you were tensing, those muscles you were tensing, to a certain extent, you're tensing with your mind. These are kind of habitual postural habits, tendencies. And some of them are, deeply kind of emotional or related to your psyche. Some of them may be more mechanical. You're trying to avoid experiencing pain, so you're finding tension in other parts of your body. Some of them mechanical in the sense that, you're a waiter, so you stand in a particular way, or carrying a tray, or you're experiencing certain kind of stress during your work, and that gets embodied. So there are many different facets to it.
It's interesting, like, different people have like different parts of their body where their tension is stored.
Yes, definitely.
For some people it's like, the shoulder is like here, or
I think for everybody it's in the shoulder.
All right.
Pretty much. It's just when you have more pain in the knee, you don't notice the tension in the shoulder.
Oh my God, true.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty universal. I see that everyone has a lot of shoulder tension and low back, the butt area. People carry a lot of stress in the lower back and the buttocks and the hamstrings and in the shoulders, the neck. And even with great yoga practice, the day-to-day stresses keep sort of, keep having an effect. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, it's fascinating how, like, it works. Like, you can work from your body in and from, from the inside out and from the outside in. It's like we always tend to like compartmentalize, body, mind, but it's always an ongoing like exchange.
Well, and particularly the point of pain. You can create a little compartment around that and forget about what's going on in your head and what is going on with your breathing and what's going on with the rest of your body. So very often people, have pain, or sickness, and they say, "Oh, well, I just had to stop yoga for a week or two." But
when you told me it's the opposite, like I took an extra day because I was tired and my knee was in pain, and you actually said the opposite. Just if you take an extra day, then it's counterproductive.
Well, some days it is good to take a rest, but you have to remember also it's not just your knee that needs yoga. It's your brain. It's your other parts of your body need yoga too. So if one part's hurting, then we can adapt practice and we can use practice to help you feel better in that part. But don't forget the rest of you also wants it.
And that's the mental shift. It's like I always think like I have to go to practice and I have to like give it 1,000%. Otherwise, it's not practice. But at the end, it's like the other way around. When you said, that's not your performance. It's true. I mean, I can come here with what I have, and that's enough. And I have to like go super crazy. I mean, I'm saying about me, but because this happened yesterday. But I'm universal. Sure a lot of people.
It's totally universal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because the asana practice is a microscope, then you're going in there and you're running through your life, and then you're cycling through your life, and then you stop and you practice yoga, and then that's one section of your life where you observe your behavior. Then that's where you notice yourself having the asana be a performance, but maybe that pattern is happening constantly, and then that's contributing to the knee pain. But then in the asana room is the only place that you see it, because in society, there's all these like stimulations and distractions going on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, often you don't feel the pain until you come home and sit down, you know.
Yeah.
You're carrying a lot of pain with you all day long because of
absolutely.
the stresses that you have. And it's only when you're quiet or when you're on the yoga mat do you actually notice the pain that's in your body.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, the other thing that's really important is, what is this physical practice for?
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting and to learn new postures and to develop and get more flexibility and all the rest of it. But what's the point? Where are you going with it? And, again, injury, pain, feeling the limitations of your body is an opportunity to remember, where you're going next. What's the next step? I see asana practice as therapy. People come with different intentions. Some people want to get fit. Some people, are looking for a spiritual practice. But even if you're looking for a spiritual practice, the asana practice is there to help you sit with ease and meditate. That's how I see it personally. So that's the next step as well. So in fact, when you feel the limitation of asana, you're actually ready to evolve to the next step. It's kind of ironic in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So you see it as therapy. So like
for 24 hours or 12 hours, it makes you feel better.
Interesting. But like, have you managed in your experience to like help people like of using asana as a therapy for some people? Or what has been your direct experience as a teacher?
Well, absolutely for myself. I came into yoga practice feeling quite sick, both physically and I wouldn't say mentally sick, but very distressed and, with a lot of pain, both in my body and my mind and sickness in my body. So yoga definitely helped me. I think, as I said before, I see that very often the benefits are sort of indirect. You have this ambition with your body to achieve certain things, and that gives you motivation to make changes, lifestyle changes, which I think in the end are often equally or more beneficial, like changing your diet, going to sleep at the right time, things like that. Also, learning how you're beating yourself up with the asana practice and learning how to soften and be compassionate towards yourself and then obviously towards others. But also, really in terms of releasing pain from the body. I've had many people who've come feeling kind of depleted with specific health issues who, after a year or two, or even sooner, really feel like they've managed to eliminate a lot of their chronic suffering through asana practice. It's not exclusively asana practice, but like I say, asana is like a vehicle.
Yeah.
I see it a little bit like a vehicle, and you can ride, it's a journey. It's like a surfboard. You ride that asana vehicle and it takes you somewhere. And that may be to feeling differently about yourself, maybe to be feeling differently about your family or relationships, different relationship to your body, what you're putting inside your body, etc. It's huge. Yeah.
I mean, this kind of brings me, can I take a little tangent, guys? Do you mind? Like, okay. Obviously, I don't know how to ask the question as usual, but I thought, for instance, allopathic medicine, it's like very specific. Like nowadays, we were talking about it earlier, like you take a pill because you have a headache. You take a pill because, you have pain in your elbow. And so it goes like into the specific, if your leg hurts, they go and look at your leg. If your chest hurts, they look at your chest. But I think like we are discovering, it's like allopathic medicine does not look at the whole, which is, I think, what, I don't know, what's your take on it? Like, for instance, I was reading like Ayurvedic medicine. It's basically, it does not go into the specific, but they give you stuff that helps your whole body feel better so that your body eventually heals whatever it is that you have. Is it?
Well, I think it can work both ways. You can target specific conditions with particular asanas. But yes, it's a general, if you know, according to Ayurveda, if you have good exercise, good food, and good sleep, then 90% of all your physical ailments are cured. Now, good food is a huge factor. It doesn't mean everyone should eat the same food. Different bodies have different needs, and probably different health conditions would also have different needs. You know, for instance, before I started practicing yoga, I used to get headaches fairly frequently. Since I practice yoga, almost never. And I find that in general with other people too. And part of it is just doing the asanas, and part of it is understanding your body in a different way, and feeding your body in a different way, learning how to treat it with kindness, you know. So it's preventative as well.
Yeah.
So you should be in a good healthy condition through yoga practice and good diet and good sleep. Then those health conditions would not arise.
Yeah, instead of just like trying to fix something when you see it's broken.
Right.
Kind of like what, you know.
Right.
Interesting.
Although you can obviously, you know, feel that you're broken and come to yoga and fix yourself as a whole thing. And one thing that people often say, oh, I didn't come to yoga for the last week because I was sick. And then I'll say to them, you know, for instance, if you get a flu or cold or something like that, or digestive problem, whatever, typically your symptoms reduce or eliminated in half the time if you continue to practice asanas.
Oh, interesting.
Almost universal. The only time that I understand you shouldn't really practice is if you have a fever, and maybe if you've broken something. Even if you have an injury, you know, the doctors today, in the old days, they'd say, take bed rest for 6 weeks. Today, they say, get up and move and be active as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Same with any physical pain that you have coming from yoga practice. In general, it's much, much better to keep your body moving. Because typically what happens when you have pain is that everything around it will contract and actually increase the pain. So you need to keep stretching and moving those tissues and getting blood supply and fluid to those areas to help them to heal.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
You know, when we went to India and people would see you carrying a yoga mat or something, they say, "Oh, yoga, very good for health."
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know, they typically not regard asana practice as having anything to do with the spiritual practice.
Yeah, I was reading it in the book you gave me, the Yogi Bear. They were saying like most, like it's like 80% of the people or something in India, they practice yoga, but they don't necessarily all regard asana as yoga.
Right.
Like most of them don't do asanas. That's one of the interviewees were saying.
Yeah, well, I think that book dates back to the 70s, perhaps, or 80s. Yeah. And what is very interesting in India is that yoga was really unpopular for a long time. And it was really only when it became more popular in the West that Indians started, you know, when yoga was being practiced in Hollywood, then in Bollywood, they also started practicing yoga. You know, in Mumbai and the big cities, people started getting interested in health and in yoga practice when it became popular in the West. It was kind of interesting.
Wow.
But the opposite is also true. So most Indians don't really think that asana practice has very much to do with deep yoga practice. That real yoga is, you know, a yogi is somebody who is a master of the mind. You know, somebody who's mastered their desires, somebody who has deep insight. It's not somebody who can put their leg behind the head. You know.
Yeah.
That's a different path.
Interesting. But at the same time, also putting the leg behind your head, it requires some mind mastery.
Not necessarily. Some people can just do it. Genetics. You know, some people are just very flexible genetically. And some people will never be able to do it, no matter what they do with their minds. You know, their body proportions won't allow it, or, you know. So, and those who cannot do it, what I've discovered is very often those who are stiffer and those who are more challenged in the physical body often are very well developed psychologically or spiritually. And those who are
Interesting.
very flexible and capable with their physical bodies are often very immature in spiritual terms. So there's no correlation.
Okay.
But it is. I think there is there's probably a growing together of these in India. Let's say there's probably a growing together of the idea that asana practice and real yoga sort of do belong somewhat to a same tradition. There's more of a blending coming now. I think the understanding that there are 8 steps, and asana is one of them, and you need to have a good, healthy physical body. You need to be able to sit comfortably and take care of your diet and all those things, in order to achieve the higher stages as well. In today's modern, stressful world, most Indians want to become doctors or engineers rather than sitar players and yogis. So we can't really talk anymore about first world and third world. It's everyone everywhere is aspiring to the same thing. So the same stresses are happening over there as they're happening over here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the world is, communication has changed basically the whole game nowadays. So for sure. Well, I mean, we mentioned again the 8 limbs of yoga, and maybe next time we'll take a break, and next time we dig into the yamas again. We take it from where we left.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like developing more past ahimsa.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for this talk, and see you back in a few minutes. Also, if anybody has any question, they can email us at
yogisontheroad@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to, help or, ask questions, or if there is anything you'd like us to talk about, just, feel free to share.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, and see you guys soon.
Bye.
Ciao.